The Legend of Zelda doesn't really do trilogies. One could argue the first 3 games are a trilogy, with A Link to the Past being a sort of prequel to Zelda 1. Nintendo almost made a trilogy with the Oracle games, but cut it to a duology because they realized 2 Oracle games were frustrating enough. Minish Cap and the Four Swords games are kind of a trilogy, but the games don't really acknowledge each other that much, and the official timeline puts them very far apart. Zelda's first true trilogy was with Wind Waker and its DS successors, Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, a fun train game. You know what boarded that train? 27 hours of my life I'll never get back! If only Nintendo had another trilogy of Zelda games, perhaps with an awkward and shunned middle child. Oh yeah, Zelda 2. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity released on November 20th, 2020 to decent praise. People liked how it expanded on the warrior-style gameplay and brought it into the world of Breath of the Wild. The game was marketed as a prequel to Breath of the Wild, where we would get to see the events of 100 years ago play out. However, this was not exactly what we would get, but to understand that, we need to go a bit farther back. This is where Breath of the Wild was in its prime. The Champion's Ballad had been released over the holiday season, and the game was still being enjoyed by millions. There was no way things could get any better, and then Nintendo announced a sequel. The internet broke. The hype was unreal. Theories were flying left and right. Ganondorf was back. There was Zonai, Magic Arm, everything. We needed more. Then 2 years ticked by quietly. Finally, in June of 2021, we were given another look at Breath of the Wild 2. Suddenly, the hype was back. There was Sky Islands. Sure, the game wasn't going to be out for another year, or maybe longer, but that wasn't stopping the hype. Soon the game was named Tears of the Kingdom. Nintendo was putting drugs into their marketing. The excitement was surreal. And finally, after 6 years since Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom released, but we missed something. See, after Tears was announced, Nintendo must have known fans were hungry for anything they would give them. So on September 8th, 2020, Nintendo announced a prequel to Breath of the Wild, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. The game released 2.5 months later. When you think about it, this game should have sold like crazy. A prequel to what was being called one of the greatest games ever, with a sequel we already knew was on the way. This should have been a hit. And it was. Kind of. As of January 2022, Age of Calamity has sold 4 million copies. I was unable to find a more recent statistic, probably because no one cares about these stats. Nevertheless, this puts it at the 14th best-selling Zelda game, between A Link Between Worlds and the Oracle games. It is also the 35th best-selling Switch game, barely beating whatever that says. Looking at this, one question pops up. How the hell did Link's crossbow training outsell this game? Actually, how did Link's crossbow training outsell any of these games? No, the real question is, why did this game not sell nearly as much as its sibling games? Combined, Breath and Tears make up about 50 million sales, so why did the prequel do so much worse? Well, I'm no expert, but it's probably due to the fact that the original Hyrule Warriors only sold about 1 million copies across its 3 separate releases. Wow, Nintendo milked the hell out of the game, didn't they? Answering Age of Calamity's sales is not what we're going to be doing in this video. What we're doing is exploring this overlooked gem of a game. While I would like to talk about the story in full, this video is going to be pretty long anyways. Hey, future me here? It's not, but I'm still not going to talk about the story. So instead I'll link a video by Zeltic in the description for a full story explanation. Obviously spoilers are ahead, and since only 4 million people played this game, I figured you probably need that. The most important thing about this story is stated by my boy Daruk.
None of this makes any sense.
This game is confusing and has plot holes and time travel shenanigans and is frankly kind of a mess, but by God it doesn't matter. I love this game, even with all its contradictions in Breath of the Wild. This coming from a big lore buff. In this house we are strict convergence deniers! Anyway, the contradictory events don't really bug me. Should Link already have the Master Sword by this point? Yeah, but we need a sword pulling scene for coolness. Shouldn't Hestu be invisible to everyone but Link? Yeah, but we need to play as Hestu for shits and giggles. Should both King Rhoam and Zelda recognize Teriko? Actually, King Rhoam probably knew but didn't tell Zelda, and Zelda was like 6 when her mother died, and she had the Teriko taken away from her, so I wouldn't be surprised if she repressed the memories. Either way, even if the story's a bit of a mess, you can't deny it's really f***ing cool. This game is like Avengers Endgame meets Zelda. When the champion's successors show up, that's some like on your left kind of shit. When the armies teleport in, that's fucking cool. Should Divine Beast be able to teleport? Hell no. Is it cool that they do? Hell yeah. So the game is cool. So what? What about the gameplay? The Hyrule Warriors games are hack-and-slash games that are the love child of Zelda and the Dynasty Warriors series. A common phrase when used to describe them is 1 versus 1,000 battles. Gameplay usually consists of the player fighting hundreds of enemies and absolutely shredding them to bits. Age of Calamity adds to this by also having levels where you control the divine beasts, absolutely obliterating any monsters in your path. And the best part is every character has a distinct playstyle. Link, of course, wields a sword and a shield and has very quick movement and attacks. However, Daruk, who is the Boulder Breaker, is a much slower attacker, but his attacks hit much harder. It's all about finding which character fights best for you. There's like 25 different characters, and Link and Zelda both have multiple options for weapons, so you have even more variety. I would strongly recommend not just using Link the whole game and trying out as many characters as possible. My personal favorite is Teba. And yes, I know he's very overpowered and kind of easy to learn. But what about these characters and their stories? Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have stories that exist. Oh boy, they sure do exist. But how does Age of Calamity stack? Yes, I know I said I wouldn't discuss the story, but I kinda have to. I won't go crazy in depth, but I want to highlight certain story beats that help with characterization. Age of Calamity expands on its characters more than Breath of the Wild, most of the time. One of my few gripes is that you need to have played Breath of the Wild and the Champions Ballad. One example is Rivali. In Breath of the Wild, he's a prick. The Champions Ballad, his character is expanded upon and shows he's upset that he's such a great warrior, he is merely assisting the hero. Is he still kind of an asshole? Sure, but the DLC makes you empathize with him. In Age of Calamity, he's just back to being a prick. He does show some respect for Link eventually, but not much. This problem is not just with Rivali, but out of all the champions he suffers the most. My best guess is that after the Champions Ballad, the devs didn't really have much else for the champions, so this game they were kind of reverted to their one-dimensional selves. Speaking of one-dimensional, let's talk about Aster.
What?
Aster was a villain created for Age of Calamity, and a cool theory that is kind of confirmed by the Japanese translation of this description is that he is the prophet who foretold Calamity Ganon's return and suggested excavating the Sheikah text so Ganon could corrupt it, essentially being Ganon's man in the chair.
It's been an honor, Spider-Man.
What are you doing here? There's a dance.
I'm looking at porn.
He's sick as hell and does something few other villains in the series have. He doesn't try to kidnap Zelda or use her body as a vessel. No, he straight up just kill her. Also, I think he's clinically insane.
It cannot be!
But he's also kind of basic. He's just a random follower of Ganon, and somehow the Harbinger just comes to him. And eventually he succumbs to the trope of evil follower demands too much of his master and is killed. I would have liked to see Aster more fleshed out. If only there was a villain in this game who was more fleshed out.
Your Highness, I bring news. It regards your impending death.
Suga is so awesome, I can't even believe it. The fact that they can add a character that is the right-hand man of Master Koga, who we'll get to in a minute, and make him play off Koga so well is insane. Suga's presence makes the Yiga clan actually feel threatening, instead of a circus led by a Comic-Con reject. The DLC fleshes out Suga more, giving him an origin story and explaining his servitude to Koga, as well as giving him a noble sacrifice to repay Koga. But the major thing that sets the Yiga leaders apart from Aster is their humanity. When Aster kills Yiga soldiers to resurrect the Blight, Koga and Suga lose faith. They were more basic villains, they continue to follow Aster and serve Ganon, but they don't. They turn on Aster and fight, resulting in Suga losing his life. This forces Koga to actually team up with the heroes to fight a common enemy. Koga has his values and is willing to turn on the dark god he had been serving for so long to avenge his people.
Have I paid you back now, Master Koga?
So yes, Age of Calamity has good villains, but I think where it really shines is how it utilizes and expands upon 3 of our protagonists, specifically Link, Zelda, and King Rhoam. Other characters do have their moments, but these 3 feel the most profound. First off, Link. What? Link has a character? No way! As much as I personally am not the biggest fan of the Hero of the Wild, I think this game actually does do a pretty good job with him. He has actual emotional range that's not just stoic or madly excited. And it feels like Zelda and him have an actual bond. Speaking of Zelda, her character is expended on probably the weakest. Most of the game, she just whines about her powers and looks at her hand, but when her powers do awaken, she actually steps into a good leadership role. But the character who undeniably got the most improvement was King Rhoam, boss for Rhoam's Hyrule.
Exists.
There's no fucking. It's like, oh, this bright light probably has a flashlight or something. Just kind of crazy. Holy shit, that's King Rhoam, boss for Rhoam's Hyrule. There's no way!
In Breath of the Wild, nobody liked this guy. It seemed he was an asshole to his daughter and was a pretty bad father, all things considered. You can find his journal in Breath of the Wild, which showed he did care about Zelda. But this wasn't enough for him to be favored. However, Age of Calamity fixes all of that. At the beginning of the game, we see King Rhoam deliver a rousing speech, proving he is a worthy king. However, a little later in the game, we see him speak to Zelda. Now, in Breath of the Wild, we know the king was opposed to Zelda's interest in Sheikah Tech and wanted her to focus on awakening her power. In Age of Calamity, this stays the same. We get a lot more of it. There's multiple cutscenes leading up to the Calamity showing the king and Zelda arguing, and these do make Rhoam seem like a dick, but this all comes down when the Calamity strikes. As Zelda and Link flee to the castle and are pursued by the Guardians, King Rhoam strikes one down. Link rushes to help him, but the king stops him, and one of the best cutscenes in the game plays out. The guilt in Link and Rhoam's eyes. Zelda actively trying to fight Link's grip, and Rhoam sacrificing himself for his daughter. Based on how the story builds the king, we expect him to berate Zelda again because it's too late to unlock her powers. But he doesn't. He makes sure she makes it out alive with Link because even if he doubted her during the game, he does still believe she has a chance. Instead of saying his final words being something like, "For Hyrule!" he instead makes them about Zelda, saying, My daughter, protect her. Likely speaking directly to the gods. And then King Rhoam dies, giving Link and Zelda another chance to stop the Calamity. Except he doesn't die because no one can kill King Rhoam, boss for Rhoam's Hyrule.
There's no explanation for this. It's the King Rhoam, boss for Rhoam's Hyrule is actually here. He's alive. It's been 100 years since the Kingdom collapsed, and he's actually right here, right in front of our faces.
In a surprise twist, our party finds the king alive, although without his guards, so I think they probably got fried. It is revealed that the device that King Rhoam took from Zelda to make her focus on training was actually a shield, and it saved the king's life. This shows him that maybe Zelda's research was useful after all. And in a reunion so heartwarming that it made Master Koga cry, the king admits his mistakes. Redemption for one of the most hated Zelda characters. But none of these cutscenes would have happened without the voice acting, which is slightly more bearable this time. I was never a fan of the voice acting, and especially Zelda's voice acting. But it is definitely improved, even if Zelda still sounds like she's in bed with Link the whole game. It's not that hard to gasp normally. So, that about wraps it up. I mean, other than the music, which is superb, you've been hearing it in the background this whole time. Most of it is remixes of Breath of the Wild music, but it is just so good, especially for like a spin-off like this. They just went above and beyond, man. But other than that, yeah, that's kind of it. I would like to go on. I probably could go on. But there is something regarding this video that you need to hear from the real me. So let's cut to that real quick. So, where have I been? It's been 8 months since I made my last video. Let's talk about that because, I did say in one of my SpongeBob videos from forever ago that I was gonna start uploading regularly. Fuck that. I guess. Do I want to make videos? Yes, I do. Do I have the passion to make the videos? Kind of. Do I have the resources? No. That's the problem. I don't have the resources. I got the ideas. I got what I want to do. These past, almost two and a half years on this channel maybe have been experimentation, trying to figure out what I want to do with this channel because I want to make videos. I have some ideas, I just don't have the resources. I might get a computer for my birthday, who knows, hopefully that might actually start me on the path of making decent videos again. But yeah, expect this to be like the only upload for a while, just because. Well, actually, guess what? I started making this video 5 months ago, and then I kind of stopped working on it, and then I lost a bet and had to keep working on it, and even then it still took me another month to get it done because, quite frankly, I have no work ethic. I have no drive. I got a desk for a computer that I might get, which could maybe make me make videos. I just do not expect consistency yet. Here's a... I'm gonna make this up. I don't know if this is a quote. Don't expect consistency if you're not willing to start. And I'm not willing to start yet because I don't got the stuff to start with. So don't expect consistency. Wow. That was very... I feel like Gandhi.